Hi, my name's Rachel Andrews. Welcome to Everyday Athlete. First off, I'd like to have a huge thank you to the people who've joined me as subscribers this week. I've reached 1,000 and I'm so chuffed. It's really good to know I get to share my passion for outdoor swimming with so many people. Welcome along. On this week's video, I thought I'd talk about how to use an action camera in the water and the kind of tools that I use to get the footage that I use in my videos. What I've got here are the 4 most common mounts that I use when I'm getting my footage. When it comes to in-water footage, you absolutely can't beat a little floating selfie stick. This one happens to be GoPro's one, but you can get them quite a lot cheaper from places like eBay and Amazon. The thing with the floating stick is that you've got real control over the angles that you're getting, and you can really make someone feel they're part of the action. So take a look at these 2 clips here. The first one where there's myself and Ali swimming. My feeling is that for the camera angle, it feels like you're the 3rd person on that swim. And for the one of me going through the white water and having a little swoosh, again, you get the feeling of what it must be like to do that swoosh. So it really gives you a sense of action. And these are great. Problem is storing them. So you've got a couple of options. You could put it this way down. Ladies, this is in this kind of swimwear. And you could film from the chest if you wanted to, but I guess I've had mixed results with what you get from that, especially front crawl, because it tends to make you feel seasick as the motion in the picture kind of wobbles around. But I generally use my swimming costume for storage, but I tend to put it in camera first. I push it all the way down and in so that it sits just here, and that protects the lens from getting all sorts of rubbish on it. And when I take it out, I get to wipe the lens and I'm good to go. Here's a really cheap version of the selfie stick. If you know somebody who's got a 3D printer, you can go onto a website called Thingiverse, I'll link it below, and you can put in GoPro mount and it comes up with all sorts of different things. This one, they print it out, takes not very long to print, don't let them tell you otherwise. It costs virtually nothing. And you can screw it onto a bottle, so you've instantly got a selfie stick ready to go. Using a bottle for the selfie stick is obviously not quite as comfy to hold, and you probably need to add some kind of weight into it, otherwise it's quite difficult to swim with because your hand pops onto the top of the water. Often when you buy a camera, you get a bunch of these little sticky things, and then it's up to your imagination as to what you could stick them onto to make them useful. I have tried this by popping one onto this kayak helmet and tried swimming with it, and it's had mixed results. I wouldn't say sticking a camera on your head, whether it's with this or one of those bands that you get as well in the kits, is particularly successful. I'll show you a couple of clips here. So one where it went really well is where I swooshed backwards through the needles as a camera person for a swim with Ross Edgley. And you can see the mounting in the picture I'm also going to put up, and that worked well because my head was in a stable position. I was always looking at the swimmer coming towards me, and so it filmed fairly nicely. It did give quite an odd angle, and I did feel that it left you slightly remote from the picture and the action. It was certainly a film of the person swimming as opposed to feeling like you were swimming with them. The other thing that's not great about them is when it's on your head. Unlike when you're swimming around normally and you're just taking a look at the scenery, at the wildlife and different bits and bobs, as your head moves and picks that up on camera, it really makes you feel sick when you watch the footage back. I've had a couple of wasted bunches of footage. So only for certain conditions are these any good. Swooshing is probably the one I would use it for. Because it's so constraining not being able to move your head. This is one of my favourite mounts. It is a tripod, but it's a bendy tripod. So I can wrap it around things. I'll show you in this footage just here, where I wrapped it around a piece of fallen tree so that I could swim out underneath it with my friend Amanda. And I felt that gave us a really nice angle rather than having to leave it sat on the side and kind of getting grass and all sorts. It was a bit closer to the action. This mount is called a chesty, and they are great for filming little clips of walking places. So if you're kind of vlogging or doing something where there's some travel involved, then these are really great because they give a consistent angle, and again, it feels like you're along for the action and you're in for the walk. It's much steadier than walking holding a selfie stick or something, and also very conveniently leaves your hands free to do whatever it is that you're doing. I haven't swum wearing a chesty yet. I guess that's because the water where I'm swimming is generally not clear enough, and I'm not swimming over rock pools or something where I'd see some exciting stuff. So it's not something I've tried yet, but I can see that it could be quite good for that. But I wouldn't rush out and buy one. This is one somebody gave me. I just wouldn't rush out and buy one for swimming purposes only. As we are talking about swimming with these things, I thought it's probably a good idea to let you know how I do it. So I tend to swim breaststroke while I'm holding one of these if I'm actually filming, and I'll do it one-handed, just like in the image up here. It tends to get quite a good shot, and it can be quite smooth. To make sure I don't lose the camera, I like to make sure, even though it's on a floating floaty stick, I like to put a bit of line on it so I can attach it to myself, and then I pop the camera on there and do it up nice and tight. Then I'm good to go. So I've got something here that I can attach to my swimming costume if I want to, or I can attach it onto my tow float. I quite often do that, tow it behind my tow float so that it doesn't get in the way and I don't get all caught up in it. The other thing I can do is I can balance it on my tow float, so that obviously requires a bit of in-water manoeuvring, where I tie it. I'll generally have it tied onto the handle. It's a bit of a fiddle to get this to work and to get the angle right, so you have to set the angle of the camera and then attach it, but you might get a few strokes, as you can see from this video here. Something that I really like about this new Swim Secure Elite tow float is this pocket here. Great for stowing your GoPro or your camera. Just pop it inside and you're good to go. The only thing is you need to be very careful about the buoyancy. So when you're doing that, you need to inflate the top pocket first, and maybe not even the bottom one. What I really want to be able to experiment with though is how I can get the camera to stay, maybe using my my tripod, pop the camera in here so that it can film forwards and film the swimming. But for that, I know from experience that it will flip over. So using these securing handles, I think what I'm going to do is attach a weight close to the bottom of it, maybe tying these together to hold it in position, and that way I should be able to get some fairly decent swimming footage. One of the frustrations of taking images on the water, whether it be video or pictures, is when you get water splash on the lens that you just can't get rid of by shaking it, dunking it in the water, licking it. That's one thing I've heard works. But I've come across something that really works, and this is, I'm certainly not sponsored by them and I pay for all of these myself, but I use these, the Pro Repel Hydrophobic Protector from Xclear. Absolutely brilliant. I'll show you the difference between images taken with and images taken without, but you'll see that even though the water, it's been in the water and comes back out, the water just dissipates immediately, and I found these brilliant, and it's reduced the amount of video and pictures that I've had to just chuck away because there's been a blob over my face or something that I couldn't move on. They reckon they work for about 4 years. I haven't tried it for that long, but they're certainly working for me at the minute. They cost about 20 quid. Other options are, as I said, licking it, or there's also anti-fog type spray things that you can put on it. I just like the idea of sticking something on and leaving it. The only thing you have to do occasionally is buff it on your clothes, which is pretty easy to do, to be honest. I hope you found the video helpful and that you'll give it a crack. Maybe try some of these different accessories, but don't get bogged down into needing everything. You certainly can get away with, at the very least, somebody who's got a 3D printer and printing out that little screw top for a plastic bottle to make yourself a floating selfie stick. Get out there, take some images. I absolutely love seeing them on all of the Facebook pages that I'm on. It's brilliant to see people out and about enjoying the water. If you've enjoyed it, Please consider subscribing, click on my face and ding the little bell and you'll know when the next one's out. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.